In today's show, the Blazers just keep on winning. Make it a winning streak, 3 in a row as they take down the Hawks behind a big Shaedon Sharpe night. Yes, another one. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making the show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday. That's Monday through Friday, so make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, we're talking about a Blazers win over the Hawks, a bona fide winning streak, call it 3 in a row, another big Shaedon Sharpe night, another night where the Blazers' depth helps them win a game, and yes, they dominated a third quarter like they always do. Oh wait, that last one's weird, but the other stuff is pretty typical for what this week has been. It's been a long way from last week. Last Sunday, the Blazers lost a game by 45. A week later, undefeated, winners of 3 straight. And while they're still below 500 and out of the play-in picture in a brutally challenging Western Conference, the arrow is certainly pointing up. And it's pointing up in a way that feels sustainable and at least like a repeatable, maybe not, but the results are going to be repeatable forever because at some point they are probably going to lose again. Spoiler, but it feels like the formula for how to be competitive is clear. So what we'll talk about in this game, we'll do our fastest recap in the West, how they beat the Hawks. We'll talk Shaedon Sharpe, who was excellent. We'll talk depth. Got an update on DeAndre Ayton's health that we'll share at the end of the show, as well as a non-update update on Anthony Simons as well. Let's get into it. Do we do fastest recap in the West? This one was looking like it was going to be troublesome early. Blazers down 26-9 early in this game and trail 33-21 after one. This was just like the starters were really flat to coming out in this game. Couldn't get any offense going, and I thought their transition defense was really bad early. And Dyson Daniels, who's just been electric lately, I did not see this coming from Dyson Daniels this season. He's been really good, and he was a problem early and got the Hawks going, and they jump out to a double-digit lead. But it looked like it was going to be worse. And then the Blazers behind that bench get it closer in the second quarter. They're down just 8 heading into halftime. The Hawks turn the ball over 10 times in the second quarter. 10 turnovers in the second quarter. They shot above 50% from the floor, including 50% from 3. If the Hawks valued possessions in that second quarter, they probably build a bigger lead, but they don't. And when they don't, and they keep turning the ball over, and their shooting comes back to normal percentages, and actually even regresses below that as they kind of come back to the mean a little bit from a nice shooting second quarter, then they get walloped. And the Blazers beat them up in the third quarter. Just took the game from them, at least briefly. Blazers outscored the Hawks 38-17 in the third, a dominant showing, and 8 more Hawks turnovers, and Shaedon Sharpe goes off. 13 points and 5 assists to go with 0 turnovers in the quarter. Got himself going with it. He drove early and missed, but he kept attacking, scored again inside, hit a 3 in the middle of the quarter. He had a stretch where he had 3 consecutive baskets for the Blazers, all dunks, 1 on a drive, and then 2 of the alley-oop variety. And he was just, I thought his off-ball play helped him kind of establish a rhythm, although he had made, I believe, 2 jumpers and a layup prior to those dunks. I thought he started to, okay, I can play with some confidence. And then he started getting going on the ball, and they started paying attention to him, and he started dishing to his teammates, and they were making shots. And all told, the Blazers come out of halftime with 38-17 dominant third quarter and take a 94-81 lead into the break. I didn't mention the score up top, which I normally do. I don't know how many points the Hawks scored in this game. This is a weird one that I don't totally... As I'm recording this right around 9 p.m. on Sunday evening, the NBA has not released an official box score from this game. Depending on where you look, the Hawks either scored 108, 109, or 110 points. Based on my brief research from this game, asking folks in the know, this has to do something with the NBA's tracking. It was off in arena. The official box score and the in arena scoreboard were not the same during the game, as pointed out by intrepid Blazers reporter Casey Holdall. I don't know how many points the Hawks had in this game. I know they finished with less, and they're down 13 heading into the fourth quarter, but they come all the way back. The Blazers bench that had been kind of so special to build them that, or to, get them back into the game in the first half, couldn't get it going in the to open the frame in the fourth, and the Hawks come back and tie it up halfway through the quarter, about 5.5 minutes left. And this game is a back and forth game in the final 5.5 minutes. We get true crunch time. The Hawks take a 3-point lead, 108-105 with 90 seconds left in this game. Trae Young gets fouled on a 3 and makes 2 of 3 free throws. And then the Blazers, they were down double digits. Then they took a double-digit lead in the fourth. Now it's gone. They're down 3, under 90 seconds with the ball. What do? They go to their guy who's been cooking. Shaedon Sharpe's been cooking, and they go to him and let him try to find one. He drives, draws a foul, makes the first free throw, and misses the second one. This would have now the Blazers are down 2, but they would have been down 1 if he makes the free throw. But the ball comes off, and Kamara, the ball, it fights for it coming off the rim. The ball hits the ground, and Kamara but pulls it out of the mud. Tumani's a good offensive rebounder. He's physical. Sometimes maybe he crashes too hard and puts the Blazers in some bad positions. But on free throws, that's just some of his skill as an offensive rebounder really comes into play. He digs the ball out. The Blazers kick it back out, looking to get a shot up, and late clock swings to Shaedon Sharpe on the left wing, and he has to get one up from deep in a hurry to beat the shot clock. Cash. Blazers go back up 109-108 with 1:03 remaining. A 4-point possession there. It's probably 2 possessions because it's a foul and a miss and an offensive rebound, but people like to... The Hawks didn't get the ball back. 4-point possession. Hawks come down. Dyson Daniels misses a floater. Hawks get the rebound. Vit Krejci gets up a putback, but Jeremy Grant swats it out of bounds, and then the Hawks, they're going to get another chance because they get the ball back, and Dyson Daniels turns it over up top on the left wing, and the Blazers don't go early. They know they can kind of take their time. They get a steal. The Hawks, who had freaking 8 turnovers in the third quarter, 10 in the second quarter. They only had 3 in the fourth. They had 24 turnovers. Heading into the fourth quarter. Yikes. Yikes. This one, Dyson Daniels turns it over. Shaedon Sharpe the Hawks said, okay, we're not going to foul. We can guard. The clock's ticking under a minute, but there's no shot clock situation, and it's only a 1-point game. We can just play defense and give ourselves a chance. Sharpe drives baseline, and way late clock draws a foul on Onyeka Okongwu. Hits the free throws, put the Blazers up 3. Hawks go quick to cut it back to 1, and the Blazers are going to get now another chance, knowing they're going to be fouled. Shaedon Sharpe again get on the intentional foul, splits a pair of free throws. 2-point game. Hawks get the ball back with 12 seconds left. Kamara locks up Trae Young, and Young kind of pump fakes, looks for somewhere to go, and tries to throw a quick little backdoor pass. Blazers get a steal. That's your ball game. Blazers win. They scored 114. The Hawks had maybe 110? less, unclear. Really weird situation. No one in the game was not being played live. Like, there was a discrepancy in the scoring, and it probably didn't affect the actual game on the floor and the strategy or anything like that. But it is strange that I'm now recording this 3 hours after the game ended, and I was kind of waiting for the official box score to come out, and it's not here. That's your fastest recap in the West. And yeah, it took a little bit longer. Shaedon Sharpe had 25 points in the second half. He finished with 32 in the game. He kind of started a little bit slow. He actually was kind of fine right out of the gates, but then I thought the whole Blazers offense kind of starting group just really stalled out in the first quarter before the bench came in. A full 5-man bench unit came in, kind of rescued them a little bit with Rupert and Murray and Avdia with Banton and Avdia and Murray and Williams. But Sharpe 25 in the second half. He scored the Blazers' final 11 points. When they needed him, he got the ball out top, and they let him attack. Right? They let him attack. When you're down 3 under a minute and under 90 seconds to go, Shaedon Sharpe is the one who gets the ball in his hands and gets to make the plays, right? And I've said this a bunch. If you're a long-time listener to the program, it's like, The question isn't about Shaedon Sharpe's peaks, right? I think we've seen him play at really high levels at times, right? And if you're a close viewer, you know that the peaks are high. It's the question of how long can he sustain those peaks. But when he comes off a career high 33 and follows that up with 32 back-to-back 30-point games, that's sustaining the peaks. 32 points to go along with 5 assists and 3 steals. Had the ball in his hands a bunch with just 3 turnovers. I mean, it's like those are turnovers, right? 5-3 isn't this great ratio or anything like that. But he took 21 shots. He took 12 free throws. He's like, you know, and even if you want to say like he took 4 free throws that were intentional foul free throws, he took 21 shots and 8 free throws. Like that's 29 shooting possessions, and if through shooting possessions, another 4 more for 33. Like that's just a bunch. It's just a bunch. It's they're giving the ball and letting him cook. And obviously this is like sort of the specifics of the lineup with no Anthony Simons and no DeAndre Ayton, some shots missing, but like he's the one dominating shots. Jeremy Grant took 10 tonight. He was quiet. It's like, I don't think 2 games is enough to say, oh, this is Shaedon Sharpe sustaining his peaks and this is proof of whatever. But like, this is exactly what it's going to look like. It's not going to look any different from this back-to-back 30-point games. Obviously, he needs to do it 5 and 10, 15, 20, 35 times for it to be like the sustainable success of obvious, really good basketball player. But that starts with back-to-back 30-point games. And this is exactly what you want to see. This is the year 3 jump, right? This is what you want to see from a player of that you believe of his caliber to be, right? It's like you believe that he is capable of playing this level. Well, the challenge is not the peaks, it's sustaining your peaks and back-to-back 30-point games. He's excellent in this game. It's excellent. Shaedon can go. He doesn't. There were times last year when it felt like the Blazers had to kind of beg him to get involved. That's not happening now. He doesn't have that sort of hesitation as much, and I think that's huge for him. Let's talk a little bit more about Shaedon, and then about the rest of the Blazers' depth, including Tumani, Delano Banton, Rob Williams, Danny Avdia. We'll get into all that in the second segment. Join me there, won't ya? First, though, I want to tell you that today's show, is sponsored by BetterHelp. One of the most valuable lessons you can learn in therapy is how to practice gratitude, how to be appreciative of what others do for you and what you do for yourself. It can be difficult to remind yourself that you're trying to just make sense out of everything, and that isn't easy, but giving yourself gratitude and grace for doing the hard work of existing in everyday life. So here is a reminder to maybe send some thanks to the people in your life and also yourself. And therapy can be the place where you give yourself that reminder, where you work on the tools that will help you have gratitude and practice gratitude in the world. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire. You get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, let's keep on trucking here. Shaedon Sharpe hooping. Shaedon Sharpe hooping at a high level. Shaedon Sharpe hooping at a high level in back-to-back nights. Shaedon Sharpe hooping at a high level in a way that doesn't surprise you. I think the thing that I like most about Shaedon Sharpe's game right now is the variety. I mentioned the 3 straight dunks in that third quarter, a dominant third quarter showing, but I liked that Sharpe, after a relatively quiet first half, kind of said, I need to be able to score, but in a lot of different ways. You know, people often say, and I will say it here on the show too, like people, including me, it's like, oh, he's better with the ball in his hands. And there is something true with that, with Shaedon Sharpe, that like you give him the ball and you get the best out of him. But that's kind of true of everyone who's actually good. like very few people like Klay Thompson or whatever, and maybe Steph Curry to some extent, like very, very few of like the top tier players. And even like if you watch enough Steph Curry and follow the Warriors close enough, there are times when like Warriors fans and media members will just be like, okay, give Steph Curry the ball and let him run a pick and roll for Pete's sake. Like it's none of this. Like give him the rock, right? Because the best players, you want the ball in their hands because they can make decisions and cause challenge defenses that way. And I think Sharpe, the most hopeful parts of his game are when you give him the ball and he, screen, re-screen, dribble handoff, tween, get to the mid-range, spin back the other way, hit a jumper, or you close out on that half spin. He gets baseline, finishes through contact. You push him to the, to his weak hand. He snatches back like he's going to take a mid-range jumper. If you don't come forward, he's, like all of the little variety that he has off the dribble right now to get it going. But I do think him being comfortable as an off-ball guy is something we didn't see a ton of in year 2. Year 1, that was his thing, right? Like he worked the baseline. He was an off-ball. I was playing with Damian Lillard. It was just different, right? Like he just wasn't going to get to dribble that much. Also, like he was making the transition from the AAU circuit and Kentucky basketball practices, but not any actual competitive games, to playing in the NBA, right? Like he probably wasn't ready for the on-ball reps, and he made his hay by being a really good cutter. And I don't think we saw that as much in year 2. And that might have been something about, the offense with Malcolm Brogdon and Anthony Simons and Scoot Henderson struggling. But like the cuts weren't as valuable then. Like you just didn't see it as much. This is back. He's getting back to it where he has the variety, right? Like he can be an off-ball guy who goes backdoor. He can catch, like, okay, well, if Jeremy Grant or if Denny is going to make a move, I can get out and I can get baseline and get behind the defense and be impactful, or I can just run. One of them was in the fast break. I can just run, and they're not going to be able to catch me because I'm too dang fast. The variety is really useful because it presents a variety of problems, a variety of equations for the defense to solve. Okay, if he's right in front of you, here's what we want to do. We want to send 2 to the ball. We want to load up, blah, blah. It's like, but if he can be an off-ball guy and and the Blazers run a bunch of stuff where he comes off pin downs and catches it on the move and things like that, like I think Sharpe's variety has been in these back-to-back games has been one of the things that I think I'm most impressed with on offense. Scoring off cuts, scoring off drives, scoring off pull-ups, scoring off catch and shoots. He shot it better today. We're talking like, it was 3 of 10 the other night from threes, 3 of 8. We're talking about like literally one make over 2 games where it's like he shot really well. But I think the shot looked better tonight. And he hit a huge one with a freaking minute left to put them up 1, and they held on from there. Sharpe brought them home. I thought his third quarter was brilliant. 13 points and 5 dimes with no turnovers. Just an awesome quarter. His playmaking's come a long way. His ability to throw passes off the bounce, his ability to see the opposite side of the floor. He threw a skip pass. I think Chris Murray ended up missing the shot, but he threw a skip pass from one wing to the opposite corner. That's just like 2 hands over his head. Defense is all the way in the paint. He says, "You're wide open. That's a pass I have to make." That is the type of reads that make Shaedon Sharpe special. He's not there yet. Like I watched Trae Young play in this game. Trae Young can pass the ball at a level that few can. I'm not saying Shaedon Sharpe's that. What I'm saying is he's taken strides in a lot of different areas of the game, and the playmaking to me is one that really is like, yeah, if he can see the floor and make passes as an attacker, like on the move, then he's really even more challenging to deal with. Because if you can get to the rim like he can, if the pull-up game in the mid-range is as useful as him, and you can pass, you're hard to deal with. You are a problem. You are something that the team has to try to solve every time down the floor. Respect to Shaedon Sharpe. The peaks are peaking right now. We're two in a row where he's been really darn good. Let's get another 63 straight of these, because it's like the burden of like him trying to grow into the franchise star. Go do it, young man. He was really good tonight, though. I thought Tumani quietly was good in this game. Real quick on Tumani. You look at his box score, 1 of 8 from the floor. Not good. And you look at Trae Young's box score, and he's primarily guarding Trae Young. And Trae shot the ball pretty dang well and scored a bunch of points. Trae Young, 8 of 16 from the floor, including 5 of 10 from 3, finished with 29 points and 8 dimes. And he was like, if you're box score watching, good. And Trae Young is good. He had 6 turnovers, but he's really hard to deal with. Watching game up close, I think the thing I was most impressed with in Tumani's game was that Trae Young wanted him off of him. He was like trying to force switches to get anybody but 2 onto him. And then the final play of the game, and then this I'll just say quickly about 2. They put him in there. He's on Trae Young, everyone in the building knows it's going to Trae Young. Everyone in the building knows it's going to be Trae to make a decision. He can pass, he can shoot. He's a really willing and like the best part of Trae Young's game is the playmaking, right? That's his best skill is that he's just an elite passer. And Tumani, gets him, stays with him on the initial attack when Trae Young kind of pump fakes and hoping for like a flyby that Tumani might react to and gain an advantage. Tumani stays down, uses length, doesn't get out of position and over pursue, and Trae Young tries to throw a quick little backdoor bounce pass, kind of soft. Shaedon Sharpe gets a steal and the Blazers win the game. And Tumani put him in a box, like he just locked him up at the end of the game. I think 2 was quietly really good in this game, even though the box score maybe suggests that he was bad. Or at least the box score, I don't know if the box score suggests he was bad. The box score doesn't like jump out at you as like, dang, who locked up Trae Young? But I think Tumani Kamara was good on defense. I want to talk Delano Banton because I don't know that I was wrong about Delano Banton, but I will say this. I have been a doubter. And every single game he says, "Keep on doubting me, Mike." Let's talk about the haters in the room, or at least the one behind the mic. And we'll talk to Delano Banton, Rob Williams, and a little Denny Avdia to close the show, plus an update on DeAndre Ayton's health. Join me in that third segment. First, though, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. You can tackle all of the NFL action on America's #1 sportsbook. I'm recording this right at the end of Sunday Night Football, so maybe you're listening on late Sunday evening or on Monday morning, and you're just like, there's more football games, and I want to watch them. There's at least one more football game, and I want to watch. Well, right now, new customers on FanDuel can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. That's the FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, when you are watching Monday Night Football, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the NFL. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond, and you are still listening to Locked On Blazers. Talk Shane, talk Tumani. I think I've been pretty clear on this podcast. I will say people hear different things when I talk, so I don't know. Maybe you've heard different things. But I've been pretty clear on this podcast last year that I thought Delano Banton, during his run with the Blazers at the end of last season, proved he was an NBA player, right? Unequivocally, this dude can play in the league. Whether or not he could play in the league for the Blazers was another question. Whether or not he was the right fit for this particular team was another question. But it was like, clearly, dude proved he's an NBA player. And then at this preseason, when he was like nominally competing for Devontae Graham for the 15th roster spot, I was like, it doesn't make any sense to cut Banton. He's the guy. He should be the 15th roster spot. So like, it wasn't like my tune changed. I just thought like, yeah, he's an NBA player. And if the Blazers need a 15th man, Delano Banton is fine for number 15. Like that's totally cool. And part of it is just like, I think he is, or I thought, I guess I still think this, is that he's like a high volume shooter and his best skill is field goal attempts. And that like, if you ask him to play in a smaller role, a more contained role, then his efficiency challenges and his just like sort of decision making and looseness with the ball and lack of sort of natural playmaking, and like he just like the play he's looking to make is for him to try to get a bucket. Like I thought it would catch up with you. And particularly because it's like he's not much of a shooter, and then he just keeps making shots. Like he just keeps making shots. He again tonight, he finished with 23 points off the bench. The Blazers bench goes 23 from Banton, 14 from Rob Williams, 12 from Denny Avdia. Like, if you're going to have that, if those dudes are going to combine to, if those dudes are going to combine to give you 49, you're going to have a lot of good times. Like, you're going to have a lot of good nights. Banton 23 on 9 of 19 shooting, right? Like, he's still taking 19 shots, but 4 of 8 from 3. He turned the ball over a little bit, and I think that's why he didn't play down the stretch, is because some of the decision making. That Scoot Henderson was the guy who closed the game, and I think there was also a defensive lapse that Chauncey Billups got a little bit frustrated with, and clearly took Banton out. But he took him out on an offensive possession. He said, "Scoot, go in there and like don't turn the ball over." Scoot Scoot had just 4 turnovers compared to Banton's 5, so it's not like he was like significantly better with the ball. And they're obviously Scoot certainly struggles with those, but like Banton's impact and what he does on offense, I think he is proving me to be someone who I kind of think he's just like he's like inefficient and a guy who needs to be used in a really specific way. He's just, every game he seems to be saying like, Mike, the specific way I need to be used is for about 25 minutes a night because I can play. And DB Hooper, he's hijacking the game and jumping out with the cash. Like he is exceeding my expectations with like fully cards on the table. My expectations were pretty low for him. But he can just play. And I every time he does well, like I enjoy his sort of oeuvre, but I have my doubts about its overall quality and success, and he just he's dude's hooping. He was good tonight. Rob Williams, every time he plays, he's the Blazers' best big man. He just is. The other night, Donovan Clingan had one heck of a game, and then tonight, on Wednesday against the Wolves, Clingan had like just outrageously good game. And tonight he kind of just looked like a young person, like he looked like a young player. I thought Trae Young was a tough matchup for him because Trae's so good at manipulating the pick and roll and things like that. But the other Hawks, I think Daniels and even Jalen Johnson to some extent, like Clingan was not as effective against them. And I think the rolling prowess of the bigs like Capella specifically and a little bit Onyeka Okongwu, but mostly Capella, gave Clingan a little more trouble in terms of where to be up on Trae all the way back at the lob at the roller threats as opposed to what Rudy Gobert did, who has famously balloons for hands. So like this wasn't a great Clingan night, and what Rob Williams said, it's like, I'm ready, it doesn't matter. Like I'm ready to go. And Rob Williams makes all the shots, 6 of 6, finished with 14 points. He grabs 8 rebounds. He has 2 assists. He blocks a shot. He gets a steal. Like he's just so active. Like he's the Blazers' best big man. And when he's available to play, he will play like the Blazers' best big man. I mean, he was really good. Denny, this was a funny Denny game. I don't think Denny's game was loud particularly. He had one fun alley-oop pass to Rob. That was like just a nice play, and he had a got out on the break too as well. But like 12, 8, 4 assists, just like, these aren't big eye-popping numbers, but 12, 8, and 4 off the bench is like a really solid night. Again, like when Denny has made his shots, he's 2 of 4 from 3. He's a different basketball player. His best game of the season so far this year, he hit 3 threes. Tonight he hits 2. If he hits the jumper, everything else he does, because he's going to push in transition. He's a natural playmaker. Like he plays physical. It just opens everything else up. It just looks so much more comfortable, because if you get a little bit of attention at the 3-point line, Denny's struggles in the half court become a lot simpler, because he's going to be able to have space to drive, because he's going to get more pressure, or he's going to get closed out on a little bit differently and be able to attack closeouts. Like it was all, it all flows from there. But like all of this is to say is like, good teams, right? Like good teams have enough players that when it's not a Donovan Clingan night, it can be a Rob Williams night. And when it's not a Jeremy Grant night, 4 of 10, 9 points, it can be a combination Delano Banton, Denny Avdia night. When Tumani is playing defense but not scoring, well, Shaedon Sharpe is going to be able to score 30 some and kind of lift the role players up with him. Like the best teams have answers. I think when the Blazers are fully healthy, their depth presents some challenges. Like it presents some sort of, it presents some tough choices that Chauncey Billups will have to make, because I think like the way NBA politics work and talent works is that Anfernee Simons and DeAndre Ayton absolutely have to play, and it flows from there, all of the other decisions you have to make. Right now, with those 2 injuries, undeniable, the Blazers won all of their games this week without those 2 gentlemen in the lineup. It is impossible not to see them out of the game and think like, are they better? Like, are they better with those 2 out? I don't know that they are better in perpetuity. I know that they have been better this week without them, and that is undeniable. Their success has come without those 2 gentlemen in the lineup. But when they're available, it's just gonna be tricky. Like they're going to play, and it's gonna cause some challenges. Like right now, the rotation just kind of makes sense. You're able to play your wings. You've got your your speedy point guard who turns it over a little bit too much, your big point guard who turns it over a little too much. You've got Shaedon Sharpe to run a bunch of offense. You can have Denny Avdia have the ball in his hands a little bit more. You've got some rim rolling bigs who can run some handoff stuff. Although Klingon is not that good at that just yet. Like, it just makes sense. It's allowed Chris Murray to get into the games and be productive. I thought he was productive again tonight. Murray's not going to play when they're healthy, right? Like Chris not going to play. Ryan Rupert's not going to play. It's like, I don't know, those guys have to play for any major reason, but it is simpler without Ayton and Simons there, just in terms of like what's the path. And like, undeniably, they've been better without them this week. Whether that will continue, like I said, in perpetuity is another question, but I think factually they've been better this week without those two gentlemen. And the DeAndre Ayton absence might be a little bit longer. He is out indefinitely. The Blazers, bad news, sent a PDF to my email inbox. And if you're a longtime listener, you know when that PDF shows up and it's an injury update, it's bad news. You do not want to get PDF'd. This afternoon, on a Sunday afternoon, DeAndre Ayton got PDF'd, and the Blazers announced that further imaging on his right index finger revealed a deep contusion of the proximal phalanx. I don't know what that is. It sounds like a really bad bruise in your index finger. And quote, at the end of the email or the end of the PDF, it's both. If you want to know, they write the PDF in the body of the email, and then they attach the PDF as well. But the PDF says, updates will be given when appropriate. That's not a timeline. That is an indefinite absence. That's bad news. I mean, it's not bad news because this seems like this season is over or whatever. I mean, it just seems like he's going to miss a much more extended chunk when it seemed like, oh, he sprained his finger. He's going to miss a couple games, and it's like his shooting hand, right? It's like, okay, yeah, he probably is not going to be very effective with his index finger all jacked up. But the indefinite absence is going to be a challenge for Ayton to miss a chunk of time. And the Blazers, they have depth to cover up for it, but you want players to be healthy because these are their bodies and their livelihood. And for me, I want to see the Blazers have to make the tough decisions. Let's get them tough decisions in there. Let's see what it looks like. I want the hard data on how they make these challenging choices when the roster is totally full. Anthony Simons back in the building, did not play again, obviously tonight because I didn't mention him. But I guess other players probably played that I didn't mention. Maybe I mentioned everyone. Did I mention Scoot Henderson? I think I did. Yeah, for sure. I talked about his turnovers. Okay, yeah. Anthony Simons didn't play in this one, but he was back on the bench after missing the previous. He left Tuesday's game and then didn't play on Wednesday, but he's back on the bench in this game, which is a good sign, back in the building, but he was still out with what they're calling an illness. We will see what happens with Ants. He didn't get PDF'd, and it doesn't sound like, when Billups has talked about it, it doesn't sound like it's going to be a long-term thing, but Blazers are going to head out on the road next week, and so we'll see, assuming Ant will travel, we'll see what his availability will look like. That's going to do it for this particular show. We'll come back and do more of them next week. I got a fun interview lined up for later this week. Tomorrow's show will look ahead to the Blazers' upcoming road trip. That's what we do 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts, and also on YouTube. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.